So Wilson Alexander reported last night that LSU had signed Charlie Weis to a contract, and that is significant news. Lane Kiffin is the brains of this operation. He is the top of the totem pole. But Charlie Weis Jr. is in that brain trust. He was the highest paid offensive coordinator in the SEC at Ole Miss, and he and Lane Kiffin make this music together. Charlie Weis is the play caller. Now, Lane Kiffin is very much on those headsets. He's very much involved in what's going on play to play, drive to drive. But Charlie Weis is very much involved in that too. And to have those two guys in Baton Rouge would be a very, very massive thing. I say would be because there's still an opportunity that Charlie Weis could get a head coaching job this year. Apparently, there's some interest from South Florida. I don't know how far down the road that is or not. It's that time of year. Anything's possible. But those two guys in Baton Rouge is a big deal. It's also, and this is another piece to this puzzle. It's a small piece of this puzzle, but it is a piece to this puzzle. You've now taken the brain trust from Oxford. Like if Charlie Weis Jr. stays at Ole Miss, they still retain a piece of the DNA that made them as good an offense, as consistent an offense as there's been in college football the last couple of years. And you play them every year. So that is a significant thing. They're on your schedule every year. It's not a hypothetical, like if you meet up with them, you play them. So to take that away and leave Ole Miss basically with Joe Judge calling the plays in the playoff, and then we'll see what they do to offensive coordinator next year, like you've hurt Ole Miss significantly while really enhancing your staff offensively with Charlie Weis. And if you bring Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weis, then you can fill out the rest of that staff, whether it's Frank Wilson, whether it's Kevin Smith, whether it's whoever on the offensive line. You've got the top of that totem pole figured out. And that's the really important thing. Then you go to the defensive side of the ball with Blake Baker. And Matt Zenitz reports that Blake Baker is likely to be retained by LSU. And if you retain Blake Baker, you've got a really good chance of keeping Kevin Peoples and Jake Olsen, and you got a really good chance of keeping Corey Raymond. Kyle Williams, I think, has done a good job this year. That DNA is not as interwoven. Like Corey Raymond is so likely to stay on LSU staff, no matter who the coach is, just because of who he is and what that position group is and his relationship with LSU. He realized when he left last time, like the grass not always greener, and he went to a really good spot. I think he's going to be there. And then Olsen and Peoples, like Blake Baker went and got them from Missouri. He handpicked them. So it's likely there. I don't know about Kyle Williams if he wants to coach under Lane Kiffin, if he wants to keep coaching. If I don't. That's that part I don't know. So I have more skepticism about that. But the other guys you figure you keep around, and then we'll see what happens to Kyle Williams. But all of a sudden, you start to see the real bones of that staff come together, and that's a really strong staff. You take Ole Miss's offense and LSU's defense, which went from 108th in the country and in 2 years was 25th in the country with Blake Baker, and you hear the way that those players talk about him, and you hear the way that he's impacted that side of the football program. It's a big deal, and that's a really strong staff to put together. Now, Blake Baker interviewed with Tulane yesterday. I'm hearing things on both sides of that. Yeah, he's likely to get it. No, he's likely to stay at LSU. I'm not comfortable jumping on one side of that fence as I sit here today at 1:52 on Tuesday, and I point that out because that could change at 2:52 on Wednesday. Things are moving very quickly in the coaching world, in the coordinator world, in the recruiting world. Things are moving very quickly, not just in Baton Rouge, everywhere. But this right now feels like a really, really positive thing. Now, if you tell me in 20 hours that Charlie Weis is taking the head coaching job at South Florida and Blake Baker's going to Tulane and he's taking two staffers with him, all of a sudden things get a little dicier, and that's going to impact LSU's recruiting class. And, things are going to happen. We just saw J.C. Anderson flip from Ole Miss to LSU, to four-star tight end from the Midwest in Illinois. And LSU's going to get some commitments and get some flips, and they're going to lose some commitments. They're going to have some folks that leave. Jalen Chapman just decommitted. We talked to Sam Spiegelman earlier. Kenny Darby is potentially looking around. Matt Moscona reported at LouisianaSports.net earlier that Richard Anderson may be holding off until he knows what LSU staff's going to do. There are going to be highs and lows in this thing. What you have to trust if you're an LSU fan, where you have to sit back, take a deep breath and go, okay, we lost a commitment there. We got a commitment there. This coach is leaving. Okay, we got that coach. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. What you have to sit back and go is, okay, Lane Kiffin's got to be in charge here. And not everything's going to go perfect. And I promise not everything is going to be terrible. Some stuff's going to be great. Some stuff's going to be disappointing. Everybody's in transition and in flux at this point. There's a lot of things happening. Georgia just lost their number one commitment, a quarterback, to Vanderbilt, okay? So that's the stable of program reserves in the country, and they're losing quarterback commitments to Vanderbilt. But you just got to, if you were excited when Lane Kiffin got the job, if you were excited when Lane Kiffin went to the podium yesterday, if you're excited about Charlie Weis Jr. staying, you're excited about Blake Baker staying, and realize that, okay, maybe Blake Baker might leave and maybe Charlie Weis Jr. might leave, like, you just have to trust the guy who's getting the big paycheck. And no matter who his offensive coordinator is, no matter who his defensive coordinator is, no matter what four-star signs with LSU, what four-star flips from LSU, whether they're from Illinois or Baton Rouge or Eunice, or what, it's Kiffin's job to get it straight. And it's going to be bumpy and choppy and turbulent and wild for the next week. And then we'll take our head above the water and survey what's gone on. But I think if you're excited when Kiffin went to the podium, you've got to relax when things don't go exactly according to plan. I think the term that the kids use, that the message board folks use, is melt. You got to keep the melt to a minimum at this point. There is no way to have a coaching change and just have everything go smooth. It cannot happen. Not in a world where every single player is a free agent at the end of every year and every single coach is available to jump. You cannot have things just run smooth. It can't be done. So you take the highs, you take the lows, you trust the guy in the captain's chair, and you just keep pushing forward. Lane Kiffin appeared yesterday to be very excited about recruiting at LSU. He's going to do things his way. He'll fill out his staff. They'll get the commitments and signatures that they can. Portal opens in a month. They'll address things they need to with the whole truckload of cash that they got set to the side. And it's going to be a wild scene. But I think LSU's got a really good head football coach that knows what he's doing. He's not new to the gig. And I think LSU is going to put together a really good football program moving forward. I just can't tell you what pieces are for sure going to be a part of it on a player perspective or an assistant perspective. That's what the next 6 weeks are for. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.